A second lecture um, given by me on colorectal carcinoma. I repeat a quote by Mary Pettibone who to repeat what others have said requires education, and to challenge it requires brains. So, what are the learning objectives today? Is to review the anatomy of colon and rectum, to know the disease epidemiology, to identify the etiology and risk factors, to understand the pathology of colorectal carcinoma, to recognize the different types of clinical features, to investigate the disease, and to understand the treatment options for various types of colorectal cancer, including preventive measures. So CA of the colon and rectum, the second most common cancers after the lung cancer in the Western world. It is therefore contributes considerably to morbidity and mortality. Until the last decade, treatment has been limited to excisional surgery. The generally poor outcome showed little signs of improvement. In new information from epidemiological studies, the molecular biology, imaging together with surgical innovation and trials of adjuvant therapy offers possibilities of preventing some cancers, diagnosing them earlier, and improving both quality and duration of survival for majority of patients while avoiding unnecessary mutilation for those with no prospect of cure. Although a thorough understanding of disease and the options are available for management, therefore it is even more necessary to apply them. The incidence of colorectal cancer varies between and within the country, suggesting environmental factors. The peak incidence is in the seventh decade. The ratio between the male and female is almost equal. It is common in the Western world but rare in Asia and Africa. The difference among racial and groups within different areas of country suggesting genetic or cultural factors are important. And finally, the lifestyle play a very important role in etiology of cancers. Anatomy. The colon is 150 centimeter long and it is subdivided into cecum, ascending colon, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon. The ileocecal valve forms the junction between the small and large bowel and demarcates the cecum from ascending colon. The transverse and sigmoid colons have a mesentery and entirely intraperitoneal. The ascending and descending colons are partially extraperitoneal. The superior mesenteric artery supplies the colon between ileocecal valve and splenic flexure, and the rest is supplied by inferior mesenteric artery. The colonic wall consists of four layers: mucosa, submucosa, muscularis propria. This is the inner circular layer and outer longitudinal layer comprising three narrow bands, tinea coli, and finally the serosa. This is how they look like on this slide. The etiology of the colorectal cancer is unknown, but these are the risk factors: age, diet, polyps, personal medical history, family medical history, genetic factors, inflammatory bowel disease, and irradiation. Age. Colorectal cancer is more likely to occur as people get older. The disease is more common in people over the age of 50. However, colorectal cancer can occur at a younger age, even in rare cases in teens. Diet. Colorectal cancer seems to be associated with diets that are high in fat and calories and low in fiber. So, diet low in ingestible fibers and high in animal fat. Number two, increased fecal fat, salt post cholecystectomy. Number three, selenium deficiency. And number four, high anaerobic bacterial count in feces. Next is polyps. These are usually benign growths on the inner wall of the colon and rectum. They are fairly common in people over the age of 50. Some types of polyps increase a person's risk of developing colorectal carcinoma. Uh, in colon, the polyp is a well known cause of colorectal cancer. The risk of malignant change in a benign polyp depends on many factors, including the size of polyp, the number of polyps, the histological type. The risk of cancer development is more common in the villous type of adenomas than in tubular. Also, the presence of epithelial dysplasia increases the risk of cancer. The personal medical history shows that women with a history of cancer of the ovary, uterus, or breast have somewhat increased chance of developing colorectal CA. Also, a person who has already had a colorectal cancer may develop this disease a second time. As regards family medical history, the first degree relatives, for example, the parents, the siblings, the children of a person who has had colorectal cancer are somewhat more likely to develop this type of cancer themselves, especially if the relative had a cancer of young age. In many families, members have had colorectal cancer, the chances are even more. Genetic factors play a small important role. The familial syndromes with increased risk of colorectal carcinoma include familial adenomatous polyposis and HNPCC, which includes Lynch syndrome 1 and 2, Turcot syndrome, and Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. The familial adenomatous polyposis or FAP accounts for 1% of colorectal cancers. People with FAP typically develop hundreds to thousands of colonic polyps. The polyps are initially benign, but there is nearly 100% chance that the polyps will develop into cancer if left untreated. Colorectal cancer usually occurs by the age of 40 in people with familial adenomatous polyposis. Mutations occur in the APC gene causing FAP. Therefore, genetic testing is necessary and is available. Yearly screening for polyps is recommended, and attenuated familial adenomatous polyposis, which is AFAP, is related to FAP, but people have fewer polyps. The hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer, HNPCC, sometimes called Lynch syndrome, accounts for approximately 5 to 10% of all colorectal cancers. The risk of colorectal cancer in families with HNPCC is 70% to 90%, which is several times the risk in general population. People with HNPCC are diagnosed with colorectal cancer at an age of 45, and genetic testing for the most HNPCC genes is available. Measures can be taken to prevent development of colorectal cancer. Other risk factors for colorectal carcinoma is inflammatory bowel disease. Both Crohn's and ulcerative colitis have a higher incidence, whereas irradiation and immunosuppression are known to be carcinogenic. This is the risk of colorectal cancer in general population is 5%. If there is a personal history of colorectal CA, the incidence rises to 15 to 20%. If there is inflammatory bowel disease, the incidence increases to 15 to 40%. If it is HNPCC, the incidence is 70 to 80%, and as FAP, it is more than 95%. Pathology. The adenoma carcinoma sequence relates to factors that between 70 to 90% of colorectal cancer arise from adenomatous polyps. The adenoma carcinoma sequence is a multi-step procedure. Polyp with tubular histological pattern have the least malignant potential, whereas villus adenomas have the highest malignant potential. Larger the polyp, more than 2 centimeter in diameter, the greater of incidence of CA. So this is a slide showing adenoma carcinoma sequence. Um, so if the normal epithelium or hyperproliferative epithelium or elderly adenoma or intermediate adenoma or innate adenomas or carcinoma, so there is genetic or molecular changes in occurring there. Next is a picture showing adenoma carcinoma sequence. You got a normal epithelium, there's APC mutation which leads to hyperproliferative epithelium or apparent cryptic foci, COX2 overexpression. Then in a small adenoma that leads to a larger adenoma, and in converting from one to the other there is KRAS mutation, and from large adenoma to colon carcinoma there is P53 mutation and loss of 18q. The distribution of CA in the colon is as follows, as shown in the picture. The highest incidence in the sigmoid, 35%, followed by 14% in the rectum, and ascending colon shows 12%, transverse colon shows 10%, cecum surprisingly shows 22% incidence, and descending colon shows 7%, and the inset shows a typical view of a physician might see in a colonoscopy in the instance revealing a cancerous growth. There are two types of cancers, one those occurring on the right side and those that occur on the left side. On the right side you have got an exophytic cauliflower growth, and or secondly an ulcerating lesion, whereas on the left colon you got an ulcerating lesion or a annular constructing lesion or a tubular constructing lesion. So because of this pathology, the clinical presentation is different, as we will discuss a bit later. Microscopically, all are adenocarcinomas, but their histological appearance is different. It may be grade 1, which is well differentiated, or 2, which is moderately differentiated, or 3, which is poorly differentiated. This is the appearances of colorectal carcinoma. Here, this is cauliflower. The second one is tubular. This is constricting, and this is also carcinoma showing in the colon. The spread occurs locally into a lymphatic spread and hematological spread by implantation or transperitoneal spread. The staging of the tumor is most common in practical system is modified Duke's classification. The Duke's A includes tumor confined to bowel mucosa. B1 involving the muscle wall but not completely. B2 involves the serosa. C1 tumor involving the muscle but not completely. Local lymph nodes are involved. And C2 involves the serosa and local lymph nodes. This is another picture showing the staging, the Duke staging as shown previously. And this is another picture showing a Duke's staging. If you use the TNM classification and you compare it with these stages, the stage 1 includes T1NO MO and T2 NOMO, whereas stage 2 includes T3 NOMO and T4 NOMO, and stage 3 NET N1 2 or MO, and stage 4 NET NEN NEM. Prognosis depends on the stage of disease and includes the degree of differentiation, the presence of venous invasion, the character of invasive margins, peritumoral lymphatic infiltration, the number of nodes involved, the presence of or absence of apical lymph node mets. As per Duke's classification, in A, which is limited to the bowel wall, the survival is 90%. In stage 2, which is extension to pericolic fat but no nodes, it is 70% survival. C, with the regional lymph nodes are involved, the survival drops to 30%. And in stage D, where there is mets to the liver and bone or lung, it is only 10%. The clinical features are depend on the site and the presence of complications like obstruction or perforation and the presence of mets. As I've already mentioned, the carcinoma on the right side present symptoms which are not specific to carcinoma. For example, pain, anemia, weight loss, melena, sometimes a mass, but nausea, vomiting, anorexia, dyspepsia, and picture suggestive of appendicitis. So these pictures, this picture results in delayed diagnosis of the patient. As you can see, there is hardly any incidence of obstruction. Whereas on the left side, you got patients that present early because of the following factors. There is alteration of bowel habit, bleeding per rectum, which is fresh blood, loss of weight and lower abdominal and LIF abdominal pain, and with we can have subacute intestinal obstruction or even obstruction. If it is a rectal carcinoma, it will present as bleeding per rectum, which is fresh, palpable mass on rectal examination, spurial diarrhea, which is loose motions in the presence of diarrhea, in presence of constipation, loss of weight, tenesmus, which is sensation, incomplete evacuation, and sacral perineal pain. So you summarize the colorectal cancer clinical features. Right colon may have diarrhea and anemia and weight loss, and the left colon will have constipation and bleeding and PR and intestinal obstruction, and on the right and the rectum you will have tenesmus, blood and mucus, PR and discharge. The emergency presentation is in the form of acute intestinal obstruction or fecal peritonitis as a result of perforation, or due to metastasis including jaundice, fistulae and cough. So investigations include digital rectal examination, which is essential, and many rectal cancers can be diagnosed on a PR as craggy ulcerated mass. Secondly, fecal occult blood FOB for screening in a patient who is not on aspirin or not on meat diet, whose blood is tested for occult blood on 3 consecutive mornings. 3 is blood and electrolyte examination, which shows anemia of iron deficiency. ESR increased but is not specific, and electrolyte disturbances as a result of diarrhea, obstruction, and vomiting, inadequate fluid intake, in which there may be hypokalemia or increase in urea. And lastly, you got carcinoma, embryonic antigen CEA to be detected on blood. A plain X-ray will show degree of obstruction and dilated loops. So air fluid levels can be seen on these. A chest X-ray might show lung metastasis. In a prepared patient, a barium enema will show a constant irregular filling defect, which is apple core deformity. On the other hand, a negative radiography by no means excludes the CA. An ultrasound scan, essential tool of investigation, it can detect the mass and presence of metastasis in the liver or pelvic organs. An intrarectal ultrasound is a new development with great help of diagnosis and staging of cancer, especially the rectal carcinoma. And CT and MRI are the newer additions which classify or stage the TNM, the tumor TNM classification. Here a chest X-ray is showing a pulmonary mets from carcinoma colon, and this is a double-crossed barium enema showing as marked by the arrow a constricting lesion. On this lesion, you also have a double contrast barium enema showing an annular lesion in the descending column. This is a CT scan showing liver mets, several low density mets from the colonic primary involving both the lobes. CT scan liver showing a preoperative CT cecal wall thickening and infiltration of the pericolic fat. Endoscopy, rigid endoscopy is up to only 30 centimeters of colon, but flexible sigmoidoscope can reach up to 60 centimeters, whereas 70% of tumor can be detected. A sigmoidoscope is important investigation and should be performed can be done in an out case in the case of bleeding and mucus discharge from the rectum, and also biopsy can be taken, also depicting how much inside it is from the anal verge. A colonoscopy could be carried out in all cases, as in 3% of cases there will be synchronous tumor, which means in addition to a lesion distally, there also a proximal lesion. It can a colonoscopy can diagnose lesions less than 5 millimeters. The polyps can be removed, and it can be done under sedation with consent. Bleeding, infection, perforation 1 in 3,000, misdiagnosis, failed procedures, and anesthetic medical risks are involved. Therefore, a consent has to be obtained. A warning includes that a bowel prep, abdominal bloating and discomfort afterwards, and no driving for 24 hours. This is a clonic images of a colorectal carcinoma, here, 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 and here. It also shows a biopsy, and the treatment includes a medical treatment, and which includes a multidisciplinary team of specialists, including surgical oncologist, medical oncologist, radiation oncologist, radiologist, pathologist, oncology nurse, specialist, social worker, nutritionist, and pharmacist. And the goals of treatment are to remove cancerous cells, kill cancerous cells, keep the cancer cells from returning in early disease, and in advanced disease to slow or stop the growth of cancer cells or manage quality of life concerns. The surgical treatment is the only hope of cure and resection of tumor with adequate margins including the regional lymph nodes is indicated when the diagnosis is confirmed. In this case, if it is not obstructed, then you do a bowel prep with Picolex and others, and antibiotic prophylaxis and DVT and pulmonary embolism prophylaxis. And the surgical procedures include principles early ligation of vascular pedicle, nose touch technique, and avoidance of contaminated bowel content. And these are, in the case of a cecal carcinoma, these are the two, this is the area of resection, terminal ileum to a part of ascending colon, and these are the vessels involved. In the next, a cecal or ascending colon can be treated by right hemicolectomy. The vessels ligated are ileocecal and right colic, and anastomosis between terminal ileum and transverse colon. And a transverse colon, if it is close to the hepatic flexure, you do a right hemicolectomy. If it is mid-transverse, you do extended right hemicolectomy up to descending and omentum removed and blocked with tumor. If it involves the splenic flexure, you do a subtotal colectomy up to sigmoid. If it is in the descending colon, you do a left hemicolectomy. The vessels divided are inferior mesenteric, left colic. And if it in the sigmoid colon, you do a high anterior section. The vessels ligated are inferior mesenteric and left colic. And anastomosis of mid descending colon to upper rectum. If it is obstructing lesion, the right and transverse colon, you do a right hemicolectomy in primary anastomosis. And if it is left-sided obstruction in emergency, because the patient is not prepared, you do a Hartmann's procedure, which is proximal end colostomy in LIF and overseeing of distal bowel and reversal in 4 to 6 months. And you have a colostomy in the left iliac fossa. Primary anastomosis is usually not done because the patient is not prepared, but you can do it if you do an intraoperative bowel wash. In rectal carcinoma, you either have an option of a lower anterior resection or transanal local resection or AP resection. So the factors that determine this are, if you're planning a transanal local excision, its biopsy has to be minimally invasive and well differentiated. And if it is more than 6 centimeters from anal verge, you can do an anterior section. If it is less, you could do an APR. Sometimes a palliation has to be done. If it is less than 5 centimeters from anal verge and APR cannot be done, then you can do a transverse colostomy. Postoperative care includes the administration of antibiotic to guard against possible infection of the anastomotic area, and fluids are not given by mouth until fluids is passed. The adjuvant therapy includes a neoadjuvant and adjuvant, and we'll leave it to the oncologist to decide about the management of advanced cases, liver medicine, chemotherapy, and or intra-arterial chemotherapy. The new therapies includes angiogenesis, which starves the tumor by disrupting its blood supply, and Avastin has been approved by US and Food and Drug Administration in 2004 treatment of stage 4 colorectal carcinoma. The new strategies also includes treatment to design to target cancer cells while minimizing damage to healthy cells, Uh, Erbitux was approved by FDA in 2004 as well for treatment of advanced colorectal carcinoma. So these are the recommendations for prevention of colorectal carcinoma in various studies done abroad, whereas change of lifestyle, low in fat, avoid high in fruits, vegetables, and fiber, and supplements with vitamin A, E, C, folates, selenium, and calcium, and activity, life changes like normal body weight, avoid smoking. Medication includes aspirin and other NSAIDs, and these are the various studies that show them. Screening is also available to a colonoscopy and with fecal occult blood and digital rectal examination and double contrast enemas in patients with high incidence of family history. So what to remember is more than one third of colorectal carcinomas deaths can be avoided if people over the age of 50 had regular screening tests. 92% of cases occur in people over 50 and above. And most colorectal carcinomas begin as polyps. So people who have polyps of colorectal cancers do not always have symptoms. So it is possible to have either or know or not know them. It is one of the most preventable cancers as well. Screening can help to prevent colorectal cancer by finding precancerous polyps when they can be removed. And it is done in an early stage of disease, whereas survival is 96%. Both men and women are at risk. Some people think that women are not at risk for colorectal carcinoma. This is untrue. To conclude, the colorectal cancer is the most common cancer in both men and women. Tremendous strides are made regularly in prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of colorectal cancer, posing a challenge to clinicians who must stay abreast of the most recent advances. Thank you very much. Stay at home, stay alive.